Hello and welcome to Virtual Fabric Academy. My name is Alex Hollingworth, I'm a Product Marketing Manager for Emulex, and I'm here to take you through a video that will enable you to articulate the benefits around IBM's Virtual Fabric architecture. So who are Emulex? Emulex are IBM's primary I/O supplier across the broad range of systems and technology groups product portfolio. So that covers everything from IBM System Z and mainframe, power systems, IBM System X, and also IBM Blade Center and storage portfolio. 10 gigabit Ethernet adoption, why now? 10 gigabit Ethernet has already been available for well over a decade, and so why is it only now starting to proliferate out into the mainstream? If somebody had a very low latency application, typically speaking the network architecture team would specify a 10 gig Ethernet fabric as the choice. However, as 10 gigabit Ethernet is becoming cheaper and more accessible to the masses, this technology is now becoming available on the motherboard of all major vendor servers, and IBM is no different. And so 10 gig adoption, why now? It's because it's on the silicon and it's available today. So what does 10 gigabit Ethernet mean for smarter solution design and convergence? With 1 gigabit Ethernet, this was what's called a best effort fabric, which means if any data packets are dropped, it simply retransmits them and there's no particular problem other than a higher latency on the network. With 10 gigabit Ethernet, you must remember that this is a lossless Ethernet fabric, which means we can guarantee the integrity of the traffic leaving and coming into the port. And how we do this is through the IEEE standards DCB Ethernet, which stands for Data Center Bridging, and Converged Enhanced Ethernet, CEE. In this diagram we can see a very simplified network topology, which encompasses an Ethernet fabric and a fiber channel fabric. Remember that if this was a virtualization solution, it would be very easy to have not only a management network but a vMotion network on top of this, which should highlight the simplified network design. So what does the first phase of convergence look like? IBM and Emulex believe through IBM Virtual Fabric architecture it'll look a little something like this. We will see the Ethernet NIC, LOM and fiber channel HBA converge onto one chip. This is known as a UCNA, or Universal Converged Network Adapter. What we can do with IBM Virtual Fabric architecture is take two 10 gigabit Ethernet physical ports and split these up to 8 virtual NICs, which then connect into either the edge network devices or the aggregation layer switches. As the switches turn green in our diagram, we can see phase 2 of network convergence coming to the fore. And what this is a simplification of our networking fabric within the data center. So instead of having one switch fabric that just covers Ethernet traffic, LAN, WAN, and another switch fabric just being native fiber channel linking to the storage area network, we can simplify this further by putting both protocols down into one lossless 10 gigabit Ethernet fabric. So what does that mean for you? Before convergence, you needed a separate redundant Ethernet switch fabric, a redundant fiber channel switching fabric, and separate IP NICs and fiber channel HBAs. And after convergence, with IBM's Virtual Fabric architecture, there are significant reductions in CapEx and OpEx in terms of the capital expenditure required to procure the solution and cables, and operationally from managing less cables and using less power to facilitate the same system. So why are customers so confused with I/O choice right now? Primarily it's because of virtualization. Virtualization technologies are really proliferating throughout the data center right now. And with the increase of virtual machines on each individual physical box and the requirement to have separate data and networking paths, it makes it very difficult to determine exact I/O requirements. I/O alternatives cause confusion. So what's the right I/O choice for your customers? Is it 1 gig or 10 gig Ethernet, fiber channel or fiber channel over Ethernet, iSCSI or InfiniBand? The important thing is, with IBM Virtual Fabric architecture supported by Emulex, we have a solution for every customer requirement. So why does Emulex matter as part of the IBM Virtual Fabric architecture? We solve real customer issues with I/O. We help differentiate the product portfolio of IBM System X and Blade Center, and we also deliver a pathway to future revenue by providing the opportunity to upgrade to Fibre Channel over Ethernet and iSCSI protocol over Ethernet as and when your customers require. So what is IBM Virtual Fabric architecture? To answer that question, let's look historically at the networking solutions we've been dealing with. Historically, we've had a 1 gigabit best effort fabric. We've also had a very low latency 10 gigabit Ethernet port, but we've really had nothing in between. IBM Virtual Fabric architecture is a way of splitting out the physical 10 gigabit Ethernet pipe into up to 4 virtual NICs per physical interface, which can be configured to any bandwidth the customer chooses. At the heart of IBM's Virtual Fabric architecture, let me introduce to you the Emulex 10 gig Ethernet VFA2 adapter for IBM Blade Center. This VFA2 card fits into HS22, HS22V or HX5 blades and allows us to create up to 8 virtual NICs per adapter. It allows us to have TCP/IP stateless offload. VFA2 also gives us Fibre Channel over Ethernet or iSCSI support with full protocol offload. It also allows us to have exclusive and enhanced vNIC functionality with IBM BNT Virtual Fabric switch modules. New for Q4 of 2011, we have a new switch independent mode virtual NIC functionality, which means you can use any switch vendor in the back of the Blade chassis. And VFA2 also can connect to 1 gig or 10 gig Ethernet fabrics. There are 3 part numbers for VFA2 cards. Firstly, there's a part number for native 10 gigabit PNIC or physical NIC functionality. There is another part number which is for storage upgrade, and another one still for a storage enabled VFA2 adapter. The difference between storage enabled and storage upgraded is if your customer wanted to upgrade 4 or 5 of their blades to have Fibre Channel over Ethernet functionality, clearly the storage upgrade license key would be better. However, if your customer was procuring many hundreds of blades, then you would need your cards to be storage enabled to avoid any further administration work. Having introduced you to the Emulex VFA2 card for IBM Blade Center, let's look at the VFA2 card for IBM System X. This technology utilizes our BE3 chipset, which means we can accommodate SRIOV or single root I/O virtualization technology, in addition to circa 20% reduction in power. There are 2 flavors of the Emulex 10 gigabit Virtual Fabric Adapter 2 for IBM System X. Both have up to 8 virtual NICs with storage protocol support. Can also be used with IBM BNT switches for enhanced vNIC functionality. Both can be upgradable to Fibre Channel over Ethernet or iSCSI, and both have full TCP/IP stateless offload. The integrated VFA2 adapter for IBM System X is easily identified by virtue of its blue colour. It's integrated into select models of IBM System X servers, X3690X5, the X3850X5 and the X3950X5. So let's recap the Emulex Virtual Fabric Adapter 2 for IBM System X and Blade Center. Emulex VFA2 adapters have 2 10 gig physical ports, which are very low latency, high performance physical NICs, which can be easily upgraded to vNIC at no additional charge and upgradable to iSCSI or FCOE. The Emulex VFA2 card can also operate in vNIC mode, which means we can carve up 2 physical 10 gig Ethernet ports to up to 8 virtual NICs, which reduces cost and cable complexity and is directly comparable for HP's Flex 10 Flex Fabric, Virtual Connect and Cisco UCS products. VFA2 can also be configured with iSCSI, which is available for IBM Blade Center, is also IBM's only 10 gig Ethernet hardware accelerated solution, which therefore reduces CPU workload and is configurable with vNIC. Fibre channel over Ethernet is also available right now with Virtual Fabric Adapter 2, which reduce hardware costs and cabling and is configurable also with VNIC functionality. Irrespective of I/O packet size, Emulex is the only IBM partner that offers hardware acceleration. This means because we're using hardware offload, we can run more virtual machines than our competitors, and therefore you can get more virtual machines on each physical server just by selecting the right I/O choice. So what are the differences between VFA and VFA2? Essentially, they both do the same thing, apart from VFA2 uses the enhanced BE3 processor on board the VFA2 adapters. We also can decrease the amount of power we use by 20%. We also have the opportunity to use SR-IOV, or single root I/O virtualization, to extend the amount of virtual NICs we present to the hypervisor. And furthermore, and perhaps most important of all, this gives us the opportunity to use VNIC functionality in a switch-independent mode. So you're not just tied down to IBM Systems Networking or BNT Virtual Fabric switches. You can use any other Ethernet switch in the IBM product portfolio to achieve VNIC functionality. So what are the similarities between the two? They both have the same firmware bundles, they both have the same device drivers, and they both offer the same VNIC extended support with IBM Virtual Fabric switch modules. In an age when all IT vendors are using the same processors and the same memory technology, how do we competitively differentiate our products from our competitors? With IBM Virtual Fabric architecture, we can leverage VNIC functionality over blade, rack and tower systems. Comparable technologies from other IT vendors like HP and Cisco can only utilise this sort of functionality within a blade environment. Virtual Fabric also offers the customer investment protection. You can enjoy the benefits of 10 gig physical NICs and 8 virtual NICs per card right now, and if you need to purchase Fibre Channel over Ethernet or iSCSI entitlements later on, that's no problem at all with IBM. This is unique amongst IT vendors. The IBM solution is open, which means you can use any switch in the IBM portfolio of products to enjoy virtual NIC functionality. No other IT vendor can do that. So what are other IT vendors doing in the converged networking space right now? With Cisco, they are 10 gig all of the time. They have no 1 gigabit solutions available. Also, you have to remember they are leveraging their existing Cisco networking relationships to go and talk about UCS, and also their vBlock deployment, which means their close relationships with Cisco UCS, networking, VMware and EMC storage. HP have been at the forefront of creating competitive advantage with converged networking for the past 18 months. They have a very strong focus on HP Flex 10, Flex Fabric and Virtual Connect, and they've recently started to leverage switching investments such as 3Com to build their portfolio of products even further. When analysing Cisco UCS's primary I/O solution, the Palo card, VFA2 keeps coming up trumps. We have 150% greater Fibre Channel over Ethernet throughput. We have 28% greater power efficiency. We have a hardened Fibre Channel stack over 15 years. We're also able to offer the customer iSCSI protocol as well as Fibre Channel over Ethernet, and we have an integrated management portfolio of products such as IBM Open Fabric Manager and Emulex One Command. In summary, the three most important points to take away from the Virtual Fabric Academy are these. We solve real customer issues with IBM Virtual Fabric. We provide differentiation for IBM System X and IBM Blade Center, and we provide a pathway to future revenue. Thanks for watching.